Chinese spy plane is hovering over the United States state of Montana, which has multiple sensitive nuclear facilities. This comes on the back of the US expansion of military bases in the Philippines and before the US Secretary of State is heading to China for a visit. Pentagon stated that a Chinese spy balloon as large as 3 buses is flying over the US state of Montana, which is home to multiple sensitive nuclear sites, including over 150 ballistic missile silos, and neighbor Dakota, which has strategic bomber bases. The surveillance balloon has been flying for several days at a height above 80,000 feet, which is above the pathway for the commercial airlines, highest performance aircrafts, which do not operate over 65,000 feet, and below the satellites. Now, President Biden was briefed about it, where he asked for the military options and was advised against shooting it down. Moreover, the Chinese government has not made any statement on this yet. The Pentagon also stated that this has happened several times in the previous administration. However, many journalists are asking why this information was released now, in the midst of rising tensions between China and the US. There is an observable rise in the accusatory and provocative statements from the United States administration towards China and its allies in the Asia-Pacific. The U.S. Central Intelligence Agency Director William Burns has confirmed that the two countries are intertwined in a global competition that could be even more intense than the competition with the Soviets. Here are a few takeaways from this incident and why it's significant. 1. The balloon could have been used to catch the signals information from cell phones, radio traffic, and command and control to augment the satellite coverage, including the ability to scan wide swaths of territory for a longer time and for cheaper costs. Second, this is only days before the US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, is set to leave for China on a first visit since 2018 to de-escalate the tensions and find ways to avoid a new Cold War, a meeting that was agreed upon by the President Biden and President Xi Jinping in November last year. Now, this visit comes amid bones of contention such as chips and trade and the Taiwanese issue. China has increased its military drills over Taiwan airspace after the visit of former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to the island on August 2nd and 3rd of last year, which China considered a major political provocation. Moreover, the outright support of the US and its allies and the recent visit of the Taiwanese speaker to the US have convinced Beijing that Taiwan could move towards independence. The increased military exercises by Beijing are considered escalatory by the US analysts, who believe that China could invade Taiwan by 2027. Third, analysts in the US believe that this Chinese spy balloon could provide Russia with sensitive information. Sino-Russia ties continue to increase, especially after the two declared a no-limits partnership and called for a halt to the NATO expansion last year, before the Russia-Ukraine war started. Now, China declared impartiality over the war and called for de-escalation. However, simultaneously called out NATO for provoking the conflict. The US has claimed they have evidence that Chinese companies sold non-lethal equipment to Russia, a claim that China vehemently denies. And lastly, the US has been increasing its military presence in East Asia, Southeast Asia, and the Indian Ocean under the Indo-Pacific policy. Yesterday, Washington struck a new deal with the Philippines, which will give the US 4 new bases in the Philippines under an enhanced defense cooperation agreement, dating to 2014. This could cause a security dilemma for China, which could be expected to increase its military exercises. As tensions mount between the two competitors, the increase in accusatory statements and disclosures can adversely impact the confidence building and de-escalation efforts. I'm Tayyaba Nisar, and this was your Daily Dispatch.